will talk about some of my background and talk about TangoTab and then open it for questions. So, from a background perspective, I'm a guy that started multiple companies. I'm a number 13. We've sold 8 so far. And a long history with Nortel in the good old days, and then building companies and hopefully selling them. We have 5 on the go. And they range from medical clinics inside Walmart. We own all the clinics inside Walmart Canada, to TangoTab, which we'll talk about in more detail. This cuts out, by the way.
What's that?
Cuts out.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good.
Can you hear me without it?
Yeah. Yes.
Great.
Awesome.
Here, let's take it out. Okay, and a company, NTR, which became the largest company in the world for software for remote support, just got sold 3 weeks ago. Servoyant, which is a self-healing device management company, which is a mouthful, but that's every device on the network can self-heal itself before it fails. And if it's going to fail, it'll create an alert so that most technicians can resolve an alert rather than being swimming in a sea of alerts that they think about it like the kid that cried wolf. I'm missing some. WorkMeter is another company that's global. And WorkMeter handles, for the first time, the productivity of white-collar employees, which means knowledge workers. It tells an employee what they're doing, because most of us forget how many mental breaks we take from time to time, and we end up spending, according to the data of tens of thousands of employees, about 4 hours a day on something other than work. And when you deploy something like WorkMeter, the feedback goes directly to the employee, and when I remember what I'm looking at, I fix the problem, and typically we generate 30 to 40% productivity improvement within the first month. Okay, so the idea of building all these businesses, and a lot of them in the past are things that you use every day, probably every day, including components of the browser, a product called GoToMeeting or GoToMyPC, and many others that have become very, very successful. Building a company is a challenge, and I know a lot of you are entrepreneurs. Some of you first time, some in the room are multi-time entrepreneurs, and it's always a challenge. The story that I take from my side is no matter how much money you make in a previous one, you start the next one as hungry as you can. And now it's fortunate that I can at least deploy the first capital, but then we pull the team, which is one of the most important elements in a business, and then go raise some funds based on a solid business plan. And I was talking to George Barber. I don't know if everybody knows George in the room, but George is a multi-time entrepreneur, a lot of history and background in TI, and we're talking about the funding status in Dallas. It's very hard to fund companies, and I bet some of you have the same challenge. So it's important to get to know the network. There are a lot of groups that fund that angel seed round, and it's important to go get that. Now, I'll get to questions at some point, but I wanted to talk to you about TangoTab, which is my latest venture, and I'll tell you the history behind it. And I'll take questions. I don't know if you want me to do a monologue, or if you have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll take it on the fly. But TangoTab is an idea that solves a real business problem. And the real business problem is this. Every restaurant has some downtime from time to time. What I say is the most expensive seat in a restaurant is the empty seat. And this is a problem that I came up with a solution for when I was 19. Unfortunately, I didn't have the internet back then. And the problem was that I was playing piano bars to put myself through college. And when you play piano bars, it was much slimmer and much better looking. You pick up the girls, and the girls wanted to go out, so I needed to make some money to take them out. And I started thinking that I'm not making enough money. So I went to some restaurants around campus, and I said, hey, you're dead on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Why don't you offer me 25% off, and I'll bring a club of people. And that's how it started. So we created a card that we called it My Dining Club. And I got all my friends and all their friends to go, the old social networking, to come and join me. The problem with that model was that when we started going out using the card, the girls thought we're being cheap. Here you come, bring a coupon with you. So I thought, okay, we'll solve the problem by creating an affinity card, which all of us carry an affinity card today. Your Visa with some school or something that you would like to donate some money to. And back then, nobody would give me a credit card. I was so poor, and nobody would give me any credit. So I left the idea until 2 years ago, when I saw all this craze about Groupon and Living Social. So I said, the problem still exists. All these restaurants suffer through the downtime. And it could be on a Monday, it could be on a Tuesday, it could be on a Saturday even, because if somebody's full, the others are not. So they need this solution. And we came up with a model that allows the marketing, allows the restaurant to market specific offers when they want to. And the idea behind it, rather than a coupon or a Groupon or Living Social with 1,000 competitors, it's the restaurant is in control of when they want to bring a consumer in. And that means if I have load time on a Monday, I can offer a severe incentive to bring you in that Monday. And that's it. And it's available for a certain number of tables. And based on that, the restaurants love it because they can control when you're coming in rather than a Groupon or a coupon when you walk in on a Saturday or a Friday evening when that table is supposed to make $200 an hour, and suddenly it's making a quarter of that because you came in with a coupon. So that works for the restaurants, which is amazing. And then what we've done for the consumer is we said, you know what? I don't need you to buy anything from TangoTab. You come in and you get a great offer. And the great offer is you get that discounted offer that the restaurant wants you to have. And it's free. So, great model for the restaurant, great model for the consumer. How do we make any money? It's a business after all. So we said, with technology like this, or like the internet in general, which we didn't have back then, as Nick calls it, the internets, we can tell that you're in a restaurant. So the fact that we can bring you into the restaurant when the restaurant wants you, we charge the restaurant a small flat fee. Which is amazing because with the volume that we generate, we can create a lot of money. A very successful business that generates 49% EBITDA. Very solid. Now, to make this very successful, which is, again, one of the elements that I think we should all talk about in a lot of detail, is Andre started believing that, I started believing that, you hit that 40-year-old mark and DNA changes. Because although we're capitalists, we want to make as much money as we can, but you get to a point where you start saying, okay, it's time to give back. And I discovered a problem. And the problem was, I met with a guy named Ken Cragen. The name is probably familiar to a lot of people. Ken is the guy responsible for pulling We Are the World together. Anybody remembers We Are the World? Okay, some of you are old enough to do it. But Ken is a very famous character in Hollywood. He's the guy that decided that Jay Leno gets the job rather than Letterman. And at one point he managed about 49% of the Billboard 100. So he had a lot of artists under his management. And I was talking to Ken and I said, hey, I'm doing this, wanted to talk to you about hunger because I see hunger as a major problem. And I said, we're going to take a meal for every meal you eat through TangoTab and donate it to some kid in Africa. And he got shocked. And his shock was severe that I said, what's wrong? He said, we have a bigger problem in America. And I said, yeah, right. So he introduced me to a bunch of people, including some very, very nice celebrities that are dealing with hunger, including Bruce Springsteen and people that manage Oprah's accounts, etc. And I found out last August that we have 42 million Americans on food stamps, which was absolutely unknown to me. By December, that number climbed to 47 million. So the problem is severe. And when we think about hunger, most of us, including me, we live in a bubble, actually, in Dallas. I think we're blessed to be here. And 2 miles down the street from the bubbles we live in, there are people that are so hungry that we don't know about. And the problem with hunger is it could be your neighbor, it could be the coworker, it could be the kid that plays with your kid on school ground, it could be the guy who handed you your dry cleaning in the morning. You just don't know. We all hide it behind some pride. So in December, I think I started, or earlier than December, I started volunteering at a place called Minnie's Food Pantry in Plano. And Minnie's Food Pantry is run by a dynamo called Cheryl Jackson. I took my 17-year-old kid who thinks that, daddy's money is going to save him. And I said, you need to come and work. So I took him to volunteer on a Saturday morning. And to my surprise, I saw people that parked their cars, and they were Mercedeses, Cadillac SUVs, high-end cars. And I was like, okay, somebody's fooling the system. So I look at Cheryl Jackson and I said, Cheryl, how do you know these guys are not cheap? Cheap in the system, right? coming here to grab food. And she said, Andre, look at them. And I'm going to demonstrate what I saw. So people park their cars, they take maybe a kid out of the car, they walk past me, but they don't look me straight in the eye. And it was a matter of shame. They're ashamed, and it just reminded me that they could be, hungry people are just you and me. It's not what we think about, people maybe in East Dallas or in some poor neighborhood. It's people that have lost their job in the last 3 years of the economy, and they just can't pay for the mortgage, they can't get rid of that leased car, and they have no food. So they go to food pantries, and that's why the number is absolutely tremendous, 47 million. To put it in perspective, that's 1 of 6 of us. Okay? In that number, there are 18 million kids. That's 1 in 5 kids in the US goes to bed hungry. Sorry for making this into a hunger scenario, but it's a major problem. And the problem with hunger is that there is no industry trying to solve it. I think Obama has a target of eliminating child hunger by 2015. Not sure where we stand on that. And there's no magic pill. So the only reason to solve the problem is through people that want to work on the problem. It's people like Cheryl. It's people like Nick, who volunteers almost every weekend at some food pantry or a soup mobile or something like that. So the solution behind TangoTab was this. We can give a meal for every meal eaten through this free offer to somebody in need. Now, why is that significant? I mean, we're a small company. Because we, in the US, eat north of 1 billion meals per week in restaurants. Okay? It's north of 1 billion meals. Because we eat about 5 times per week in a restaurant. The average Dallasite eats out 7 times per week. Andre eats probably 13. But the point is, for every time you go out, nobody's asking you to change your behavior. Nobody's asking you to do anything. Somebody eats because you ate. Now, if we can get 10% of the meals in the United States eaten through TangoTab, there is no hunger. We can actually eliminate hunger totally. You can do the math. Okay? So the idea behind it is it's a model that creates a win-win-win-win. Everybody wins in the equation. We may not win as much, but we can solve a global problem or a national problem and then take it globally without doing anything more than just doing what we do normally. And that's why we started TangoTab initially to solve the problem and then made it into a social solution to a major issue. Now, I think I feel great about it personally. So, and when we take the team to go volunteer, which we try to do every weekend, there's nothing better than the feeling of how you can help people. So it's important for every one of you. It's not a commercial for TangoTab, but go out, sign up. It's tangotab.com. You can do it on your mobile right now. tangotab.com/mobile/sign up, and you can do a simple sign up. But the important element behind it is I think every business, and you're all entrepreneurs, every business that's going to be successful moving forward has to figure out how to make an impact socially. So we can make a lot of money, and companies become successful, and companies fail, but companies become successful, and you can donate some stuff later on. But there's a generation of people that is changing the world. And the generation that's changing the world is people that care, are people that care about what they're doing. They make choices of their purchase choices based on that social impact. And that social impact is very significant. I mean, we all know Tom's shoes. That son of mine that's 17 went out and bought whatever, $50 worth of shoes, which is one pair that's made for $2. But he bought it because somebody else gets a shoe. He still spent my money, not his, but the point behind it is there are a lot of social activists that are actually driving to solve the problem, and they will do what's right. So what I suggest is that every business, from an entrepreneurial perspective, finds the right solution to grow their business using and helping other people.